because that's when they begin to push food and they begin to give sweetened foods and things that, anything to get their child to eat. So I think they really need to understand what the calorie demands are that an infant needs versus a toddler.
I was looking at a typical serving of meat based on federal guidelines, and it was a piece of meat about the size of a cigarette package. Not that I'm promoting cigarettes, just the opposite, but at least we know the shape.
It's for an adult.
That was about how big that serving portion
And
is, but the
that's for an
average one in a
adult.
restaurant's 3 times that.
Right.
What's going on?
Right. Well, also, you know, parents need to keep in mind a good rule of thumb for preschoolers and toddlers is a serving size is 1 tablespoon per year of age. And if you look at that, that's really not a big amount of food. So for a 2-year-old to have 2 tablespoons of peas is really not a large amount of food. But one of the things with picky eating is the parent, and this is what you will talk about later also, is that the parent really needs to give some of the control back to the child about what they're going to eat. Now, we all have different tastes and preferences, and if you really hate broccoli, would you want someone to make you eat broccoli? And these kids are going to grow up into adults, and they're going to be making their own food choices.
I just as soon not answer that question if I could. Next question. Is it safe for a child to take vitamin supplements and herbal supplements? And is there any difference in quality between the very expensive ones that are from all natural whole food sources and the ones that are least expensive in the drugstore?
Right.
You know, it's interesting. There's a big distinction in terms of regulation between drugs and nutritional supplements. So hopefully the drug supply is quite safe and extremely well guarded, but when it comes to nutrition, there's a lot fewer tests necessary to pass muster. So as a result, there's a lot of stuff on the shelf that is promoted to parents. I think parents actually are victims in some ways of being frightened by the market. I'm not so sure kids need so many things purchased in order to achieve good nutrition.
Problem eating sugar or not?
Again, in moderation. Parents do not believe the study when we tell them this, but no study has actually proven that sugar does make your child hyper.
Snacking between meals is okay?
It's good. Good as long as they're healthy.
We're ready for the second section.
Okay.
More parental input. Here we go.
I've seen my sister's kids fight a lot. Are they going to be like that their whole lives?
My daughter will not get potty trained, and it's causing my family a lot of stress.
If I am telling my children no, is that going to traumatize them for the rest of their lives?
They find all kinds of ways to fight. Is that something you should be concerned about as a parent?
It actually depends on the quality of fighting. You're not going to ever avoid conflict. In fact, one of the things that Arthur and I discovered, I would say we had a shared aha moment when we were thinking about all the questions parents asked us. You know, the mother who says, I can't go to preschool because my kid isn't potty trained, or I haven't slept in 5 years. What we really discovered is that there's an underlying fundamental similarity, and that is conflict. It's inevitable. The difference is how the parent approaches this inevitable conflict. Do they try to squash it, the old pendulum, the old paradigm shift, or do they try to use it and embrace the conflict, actually, and use it as a learning opportunity?
Okay, I'm sure the viewers are going, embrace the conflict,
right.
Use it as a learning opportunity. What planet? Explain how to do those things. How do you take conflict and turn it into something good? And then we're going to teach the Middle East how to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's our next step. Okay,
It's doable. and I have to say that it is exactly why I think our book actually presents something a little bit different, because our approach is that children, we know that conflict is inevitable, because as children begin to move away from their parent, that delicious little older infant who is so compliant and so distractible suddenly begins to move. They crawl, they walk away, and I'm not just talking about physically moving away from the child, but psychologically moving away from the child, and that's where the discipline comes in. I think that the anthem for toddlers should be, I gotta be me, and when they sing that, whenever you have, I'm independent, no matter what the age of the child, there's going to be inevitable conflict. So does the parent try to, what happens to parents nowadays, we find very few try to squash it. What they do is they try to placate. They try to bribe. They try to threaten. They try to negotiate. They try to think about the future. And what they do is that they miss the entire real basis for the conflict, the child's feelings. They ignore the feelings and they focus on the actions.
Explain that to me in more detail.
Okay,
The feelings and the actions thing.
And I can give you, can I tell you a story of one
You're
of my...
taking me on a trip, you see.
I'm taking
I
you
have
on a
no
trip.
idea where we're going.
You're
running the canoe. Let's not go over the falls together, okay?
I'm going to tell you a
Okay.
I'm telling you a scenario that virtually every parent has encountered.
Okay.
Mom, kid loves macaroni and cheese. Mom says, I'm going to make the favorite lunch because I really want to make my kid happy. No box. I'm going to do it from scratch. Presents the macaroni and cheese and the child throws themselves into a tantrum. Why? Because the mother had the audacity to use elbow macaroni instead of choo-choo wheels. And so she's like going like this. She's paralyzed. What do I do? What do I say?
Well, what you're saying is that conflict and feelings of the kid are a constant. No matter what you do, they're going to have feelings. And the trick is, what kinds of behavioral patterns on the part of a parent move things in a positive direction?
Exactly.
Let's go over those again. How do you be the good parent, the best parent? Somebody should write a book about this, don't you think?
I don't know.
Dr.
Maybe
Lavin, please. I mean, you know, a book.
But
I'm going to do that.
the parent, most parents, this is what they'll do. They'll say, they'll either try to say, negotiate and arbitrate. You know, they didn't explain. We didn't have any choo-choo wheels in the house, but I promise I'll get them for you next time.
Are you saying kids respond to logic?
No, they don't. That's my point. That the parent will also start to say, next time, you know, if you eat your macaroni and cheese, I'll get you ice cream. They're completely missing the core of the issue, because I can assure you one thing, this fight is not about macaroni.
Ladies and gentlemen, I can say this. An expert on this topic, I can prove I am not. Now, Doctor, what are those two books again? Help. What are these two? Show the two books again.
Oh, sure. So the overall guide to parenting is Who's the Boss? And the more encyclopedic treatment of sleep is the Dummies book, Baby and Toddler Sleep Solutions for Dummies.
What's your website people can go to get the books?
AdvancedPed.com.
AdvancedPed.com. PED.com, and there'll be a little message on that. Let's get back to parenting. When we talk about discipline, boy, I know what the average American thinks, is that discipline's gone in the schools. Probably the only place that still exists is in the military, is how most people feel. When is using discipline appropriate, not appropriate? What is discipline? And do you traumatize a child for life because you say, don't do that or you'll have to go to your room?
That's an important question. And I think that we need to differentiate the difference between punishment and discipline. Punishment doesn't work. It stops an action temporarily, but it doesn't teach a child a new skill.
What's punishment? Define the term.
Punishment would be from physical punishment like spanking, sending, you know, a timeout, sending the child to the room, taking away a privilege, threatening the child, even bribing the child is a form of punishment.
The basic deal with punishment is you want the child to suffer. The idea is they did something wrong, so something bad happens, and the idea is it's a deterrent. They won't do it again because they don't want to suffer.
Negative reinforcement.
But Susan's exactly right. That doesn't work. The child turns out to focus all their attention on getting even or recovering from the suffering, and they don't think about changing.
What's the formula for good discipline?
Good discipline starts with a very neutral stance from the parent. The parent's stance is extremely important. If they get themselves caught in, and believe me, when you've got 2 and 3 and 5-year-olds and a few kids around you, it's easy to get drawn into the conflict. Your job is to step back and describe the situation. So like in the mac and cheese example, for instance, a parent could simply say, boy, you are so mad, so sad, so upset that you didn't get your choo-choo wheels, that it's even hard for you to eat your favorite lunch. And stop it at there. You notice? No value judgments. No, I'm going to do this later. It's going to happen.
More on this in the book that's available.
It's very complicated.
Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about potty training. The concern the parents have is, my child is not potty training. They're getting a little older, and they start to get nervous. Should they be?
Well, I think the problem with potty training is that the average age of potty training is going up. So it used to be around 18 months of age in the United States. Now it's over 3 years old. The average child in the United States is not toilet trained on their 3rd birthday. Now, as you get towards 3 years old, you've got a child who's outfoxing systems. They're thinking about, geez, a pretty good deal. Mom and Dad are cleaning me up. I don't have to mess around with the toilet. I'm going to keep that diaper on. And that's why I think parents are challenged by toilet training today.
This is a whole nother view on America's youth. We're going to take a break, take a look at a couple of messages, and then we'll be back. For more Medical Matters television shows, go online to medicalmatters.tv.